A very, very warm welcome to this evening's launch of the first two recordings in our Donizetti song project. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Henry Little, Chief Executive of Opera Rara. It's a huge pleasure to have so many of you online. This is a very exciting point for Opera Rara, and at this point, I'm going to ask for your indulgence if I go into a moment of pure self-congratulation. But last night, Opera Rara was awarded the very, very prestigious accolade of Label of the Year at the 2024 Gramophone Awards. For those of you who don't know, the Gramophone Awards literally are the worldwide Oscars, if you like, of the classical music recording industry. And we were absolutely thrilled and delighted to receive this very prestigious vote of confidence in everything that we do at Opera Rara. Not only that, but also our artistic director, Carlo Rizzi, who I'm very glad to say is with us this evening, was also awarded a accolade as the conductor of the Jonathan Tettelman recording of Puccini arias, which won the best recital program. Was it, Carlo, I think?
I think so, but I was conducting actually in Berlin, so I was not paying so much attention to that.
So, well, you have a good excuse. And anyway, congratulations to you, Carlo, on being a double Gramophone Award winner. So, on to Opera Rara and the Donizetti Song Project. Opera Rara, as many of you know, is known for the restoration, recording, performance, and promotion of operas which have, for no reason of their quality, in our opinion, disappeared from the repertoire, mainly coming from the 19th century Italian and early 20th century Italian and also French repertoire. And the clue, I guess, is in the title, Opera Rara. So the project which we're presenting tonight is not an opera. And so it's therefore something of a departure from what we do. But it is a project which we believe is absolutely integral to the promotion of Italian song, particularly from the 19th century. And that project is nothing other than the Donizetti Song Project. The Donizetti Song Project being a collection of roughly 200 songs, many of them, nearly all of them, in fact, hardly known in the modern era, which during the pandemic, Opera Rara made the decision to investigate and explore, which led to our decision to record them all. And when I say all, I really mean all. And it's a very ambitious and exciting project, certainly one of the most challenging projects I think that Opera Rara has ever done. And it will comprise a series of 8 recital recordings released between now and the next 18 months and will involve 8 different world-class series. So tonight we're together to celebrate the very auspicious occasion of the launch of the first 2 of those 8 recital recordings, featuring respectively the American tenor Lawrence Brownlee, who I hope will be with us very shortly, and also the Italian baritone Nicola Alaimo, who I'm very, very pleased is with us in a break between performances of the acclaimed production of Adriana Lecouvreur at the Teatro Real in Madrid. We're going to start actually with a very short video to introduce you to the Donizetti Song Project.
Corri, destra del celere, corri, corri, la via di buona, recami accanto all'angelo che la mia vita infiona.
Every piece you have to find something to really make it real and to be alive in that moment.
Che il suo fedel tornò. nel mio delirio.
The Donizetti songs are really fantastic. I'm really happy to be here.
Vissi del tuo respiro.
It calls for a lot of variety, it calls for a lot of concentration, and so you have to dip into your bag of all your tricks.
I work with Nicola many times, and doing with him this Donizetti songs is great because he's not only a great singer but also a great musician. And musicianship is what you need for this kind of repertoire.
Del suo bello tormento da morir, vieni Lisa, vieni, vieni, vieni.
As you will have seen, Carlo Rizzi, our artistic director, is very much the artistic leader of this project. And as you can see, he works as accompanist on both of these two recordings. And also we will have the pleasure of hearing him in future releases, which I will tell you about a little bit later. Alongside Carlo, we also have a selection of other instrumentalists. And Donizetti wrote these songs for a range of piano and cello, piano and violin, piano and clarinet, even one which we're about to record in the coming week with a harmonium obbligato, which will be quite fascinating. And I'm delighted to say I think that at least one of those players, Abigail Fenner, who plays the viola, is also with us. So Abby, you're very, very welcome too. But finally, I want to introduce, I think, the person who has done what I call the live vocal, rather than operatic in this case, archaeology of this project. And that is our repertoire consultant, Roger Parker, someone who is acknowledged globally as a 19th century opera and vocal specialist in this repertoire. And Roger, you've done all the work really to discover these songs, to find them, and to bring them back to life for contemporary audiences to enjoy. So tell us a little bit about the story of the project, how the songs were found, and how you set about restoring them.
Okay, well, this was started life as a lockdown project, and pretty soon I sort of found that there were this enormous number of Donizetti songs. So thought about the idea of possibly doing an edition. And at that point, got in touch with my friend and collaborator, Ian Schofield, who's also on this call, I notice. If you can give us a wave, Ian, then people, there he is. We just decided that we'd try and make an edition of all these songs. And that's what we did, all 200 of them. It was an incredible journey, actually, and one that outlasted the COVID pandemic. It's still going on now. But there was a tremendous sense of discoveries. Many of these songs are unknown, as you said. And generally what happened is that Donizetti would write one of these things probably very quickly and often give away the autograph to the person he had written it for. So the music, the manuscripts got dispersed all over the world. Sometimes they're on the antiquarian market and you need to recuperate them from there. Sometimes in unusual libraries, very large number of them turned up in an Austrian monastery of all places, mostly which has medieval manuscripts attached to it. So there was a huge kind of, archaeological discovery here doing this. I think the one thing I'd say about it is that the more we kind of went into this project, the more it seemed that Donizetti's songs are something quite different from his operas in all sorts of ways. These are not the beginnings of operatic ideas or anything like that. They're really a different kind of Donizetti, something much more intimate, less virtuosic, but equally compelling in all sorts of ways. If anything, I think my respect for Donizetti as a musician was increased by doing this work on this repertory.
Fantastic. Tell us why you think they're so important, particularly for opera rara to do, and what's their legacy in bringing them back today?
Yeah, one of the things that came out of this project, I think, is that the song repertory, as we know it in the 19th century, is overwhelmingly dominated by by Italian and by French and German repertory. But there's absolutely no reason why the Italian repertory shouldn't be equally part of this story. There's an enormous number of Italian songs of the 19th century, and there's only just a small handful of them that are known. So the larger kind of project here, we're going to record these with some of the great international stars. And that's one level of this, which is very important. But another thing that we're trying to do, that Opera Rara is trying to do, is embed this repertory in all singers, leader singers around the world. So that sort of larger project of making sure that this music is available for a very large number of students and of young professionals and so on is another part of this project, and it's a very important one, I think, for the legacy of Opera Rara.
I think that's great, and actually, we at Opera Rara have plans to absolutely, as you say, encourage younger, possibly even amateur singers to experience and enjoy these songs, and even if they choose to look at learning them, performing them in whatever context, in very small salon context or whatever, themselves. So there will be a series of musical resources based on these Donizetti songs coming very soon to the Opera Rara website. And that's absolutely to encourage contemporary performance of these works, which is, I think, obviously, on the one hand, slightly extending Opera Rara's mission, but absolutely integral to the idea of promotion of neglected masterpieces that we've been known for the last 50 years. So at this point, I want to also welcome Lawrence Brownlee, who I believe has just joined us. Larry, you're extremely welcome, and we're very happy that you're here. And I think, Roger, you're going to introduce a song.
Yeah, this was actually one of the most fascinating discovery. It was in the archives of the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, and it's an unfinished setting of Dante from the fifth canto of the Inferno. It's the most famous canto, probably. It's the story of Paolo and Francesca. And this is a very ambitious setting by Donizetti of 80 lines from the fifth canto, but it was left unfinished. But we thought that the musical quality of what's there is so interesting that we would perform it. And then it was a very interesting discussion between Larry and Carlo and I about what we were going to do at the end. It sort of peters out, this song, after a while. So we had there's a kind of innovative way of dealing with that. But here's an example. You'll see something of the power of this setting, completely unknown before we dug it out of the past.
Venite a noi parlar, venite a noi parlar, s'altrino niega. Quali colombe da desio chiamate, con l'ali aperte e ferme al dolce nido, volan per la reda buone portate.
Okay, well, that's a small example from that song. Yeah, I'm going to bring Carlo and Larry into the conversation now and say, I mean, something about, I don't know, Carlo, do you think your ideas about Donizetti have changed from being involved in that? I must say mine were in all sorts of ways. I thought I knew everything about Donizetti, but studying these songs made me think again about the composer.
Good evening. Well, you see, the Italian composers of opera, and in particular Donizetti, they suffer of the complex given by non-Italian people that, oh, you know, they're just Italian, they can just write melodies. This is true to some extent, of course. But one thing, Roger, that you were saying that for me is very important is that, you know, the word of the leader, well, I'm using a German word, of course, is has been more dominated by French and German composers. And this is true. While I think that with this project, we will firmly put Donizetti on the map. So your question, have this project changed your idea of Donizetti? Yes, definitely. You see, when Donizetti wrote an opera, and he wrote many operas, sometimes there are certain points that lag a little bit, that lack some invention, that are only following some technical procedures of the opera of the time. But when you have 2 pages or 3 pages of a song, is all much more concentrated and is much more beautiful, actually. There is no, for example, in this little clip that we just heard, what was like a 40 second, 1 minute, I can underline already 3 kind of musical writing of Donizetti. It's not just pa pa. There is this introduction with the piano, you know, pa-pam, pa-pam. There is the words of Francesca talking to Dante and Virgilio, O anima affannate. And then after that, there is the description of they coming to her or her going to them, you know, brought by the wind. And this is why, in this point, there is in the part of Larry this coloratura that we just heard at the end. It's not just a beauty, you know, a coloratura, a technical coloratura, but is the description of what actually the texts say. So this is a very long-winded way to say, yes, I think actually that doing this 200 songs and recording, it will help and surely helped me to have a much more complete idea of this composer that for many reasons and sometimes has been, you know, a little bit passed over and neglected.
Yeah, should we bring Larry into the conversation now? And I wonder whether, Larry, you'd like to say something about the experience of recording these songs. It's really a rather intense experience, isn't it, to have to record these things?
I have to say, and I hope you can hear me well. Sorry, I'm in the middle of transit from one place to another. But recording these pieces for me was a wonderful experience, an experience of learning. Of course, I've done quite a bit of Donizetti. I'm currently in Paris. You spoke of Paris earlier. I'm in Paris, and I'm actually doing a Donizetti opera. I'm doing La Fille du Régiment. And so getting the chance to live with this music now and thinking about the music that we recorded It's funny, Roger said earlier that these are not aria-like, and in moments I think they are. But I think you respect the range of Donizetti. I think you see the fact that he can write parlor songs that we understood were sometimes songs for birthday parties and gatherings that were just, for amateurs to sing. But for example, when you take Donna infelice stanca d'amore, that is the beginning of his brilliance as a writer of arias. And so when I just got a chance to respect and understand the great range of Donizetti as a writer, I appreciated him so much more than I already do. But recording them was a task, and I'm sure my dear friend Nicola over there understands as well. These are quite demanding, even in the approach to them. Really, the need to be inventive. And Carlo and I, we worked to try to find meaning, to really dig into the text and the words to deliver these well, to bring them out to be the pieces they can be, was a great experience for me. So I had a wonderful time recording them, and I can attest for sure that there is quite a bit of interest. As you mentioned earlier, I think it was Henry who said people wanted to record these pieces. I currently serve as a visiting professor of voice at Juilliard, the Juilliard School in New York, and the person who helped me prepare these songs, she is the head of the undergraduate department. And so in seeing these songs, she's eager even now. She said, I have to get all these pieces to my kids. These are pieces that they can approach, that are really accessible, that teach a lot. And so I'm excited about being a part of this project that really opens this music of Donizetti, that puts it out into the public and show his brilliance as an art songwriter in addition to an operatic writer, composer.
That's wonderful news about the Juilliard. That's fantastic. We must follow that up. I think have we got another video coming? This is of Larry doing a sort of subset of the Donizetti songs, which is a group that are in Neapolitan dialect. So here's an example of that.
Quando nella mia se va affacciare, quando nella mia se va affacciare, ognuno dice, mo sponda l'usare, tralla-la-lella, tralla-la-lella, tralla-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, tralla-la-lella, tralla-la-lella, tralla-la-la-la-la-la-la.
Voglio essere come
Italianissimo.
te, Nicola. Voglio essere come te,
Guarda,
Nicola.
sei molto più italiano tu che tanti altri colleghi italiani.
What Nicola is saying is that Larry is much more Italian than many other colleagues that are
Non
actually.
è vero, non è
È
vero.
vero, lo sai che è vero, è verissimo.
Un vero
But
napolitano,
particularly with this song, talking about the way of interpreting, with the piano, rather than to doing this with the piano rather than with the orchestra, there is also some freedom, more, because particularly in the song that we just heard, there are like 2 or 3, I don't never know the word in English, strophe,
Verses.
verse, yeah, and each one have a different feeling. So we played with this, and also sometimes we did some variations that are not just to show, oh, look how good the singer is, but to underline the text, the particularity. We changed the tempo and the speed, the color, because it's really like reciting a monologue in the songs, and this is what for me makes it so different. Very often, talking as a conductor that went back to the piano, there is a completely different kind of relationship with the singers. you don't have to carry 70 people. So you're much more free and much more also in the moment. And this for me personally was the great experience. One funny thing is that of course Larry is so well known for his top, and so there is a couple of points where where I remember saying, "Oh, come on, let's just put a top B here." It's not it's not good. And why not? if, if one has it, why not? So this was, but one thing that I also wanted to say, um, for me, what is amazing about the songs, and before that we started the project, when we were thinking about it. That, by the way, is a story that I love, about how this actually came through. This project was during a Zoom call during the lockdown, and I asked Roger, "Can we speak next week about something?" I don't remember, and Roger said, "Oh well, next week I don't have a lot of time. I'm swamped in all these songs of Donizetti." So I said, which songs?" And he told me, "Oh, well, I'm doing the blah, blah, the full edition." And he said it with such a nonchalance. And I was there thinking, wow, this is something that Opera Rara has to do. So it almost came out by chance. And I'm very, 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 very happy that we had that conversation, because as and I was say, I mean, is a big undertaking. 8 CDs is an undertaking, not only financially and logistically, but also from the point of view of organizing 8 different singers, dividing, oh God, dividing the songs. What do we do? Do we divide it by date, by voice? And then we decided to do it by voice, because thankfully we have such good singers that become a little bit like a mini recital album in this big project. So I'm really excited about all
So we
this.
should, Carlo, we should move to the Italian part of the conversation now. If you were going to talk to Nicola for a few minutes.
Assolutamente. So, Nicola, the most Italian of the
Beh,
Italian singers.
un po' troppo Italian.
No, no, no. You're great. No, e per te come, cioè, qual è le cose che ti sono rimaste impresse di più quando abbiamo registrato? I asked what things
Ma
that is more interesting and remain with him about our time when we recorded the songs.
diciamo che prima di tutto, vabbè, saluto tutti ovviamente. Devo dire che mi è preso un colpo quando mi è stato inviato l'invito a registrare queste romanze. Chiaramente ho detto subito certo, immediatamente, senza perdere tempo. Quindi mi è stato inviato il link con le romanze. 26 romanze, ho detto sì, ok, ce la posso fare, ed è stata una settimana meravigliosa, intensa, di lavoro, e questa alternanza evidentemente voluta e studiata fra romanze un po' più serie, un po' più malinconiche, e romanze un po' più facete, diciamo così, è stato meraviglioso. Donizetti è, credo, un compositore che si innesta in maniera perfetta, diciamo, fra Rossini e Verdi, in un ideale proprio con la mia voce, per cui è stato un lavoro intenso, però estremamente appagante. Poi, insomma, diretto da uno dei più grandi maestri, accompagnato con un tappeto di velluto dorato al pianoforte in maniera così magistrale, è venuto, come dire, tutto abbastanza naturale. Ci sono ovviamente delle romanze alla quale mi sono legato un po' di più,
Fermo
sicuramente
lì.
come...
Fermo lì che adesso devo tradurre tutto. I said
Oddio.
stop there because I have to translate everything. So the
Ben
first
detto, però, ben detto.
the first thing that Nicola said is that he got a sort of heart attack when he saw the sheer number of pieces to sing. It was the 26, and are about more or less the same number for each singer. About sort of on the higher part of the 20s, and he said that what was interesting and challenging at the same time was passing from the most melodic and sort of romantic one to the most hilarious, also funny, and sometimes also slightly naughty songs. And well, then he said something very nice about who was playing the piano. I don't know who that was, so we will leave it. And no, this is for. And then he said that there are certain pieces that has been, remain closest to his heart. Ecco, allora dici quali sono quelle che ti sono rimaste più caro?
Beh, forse una che diciamo è un po' più conosciuta rispetto alle altre, che è Oh, di d'un uom quella è
Oh,
bellissima, è veramente stupenda. E un'altra che mi è rimasta molto impressa è la preghiera Dio che col cenno moderi. Mi è entrata con quell'introduzione del pianoforte, un po' anche, non so, di mistero, è veramente una romanza che mi è entrata proprio nel cuore,
yeah.
tantissimo. E poi c'era anche vabbè, il Trovatore in caricatura, quello è stato un capolavoro, secondo me, con la partecipazione straordinaria di Harry Little.
So this is there is he mentioned two romances that are very nice, but this one that is Il Trovatore in caricatura, that is a sort of very satirical song about the troubadour. Now, trovatore in Italian means to find. Is a play on the word. So the troubadour as also the person that finds. And this, what happened is that this guy goes into this place to find, to eat, to sleep, but cannot find anything. So you say, if I cannot find anything, se non posso trovar niente, perché faccio il trovatore? Why am I a trovatore? That is very ironic. And one very funny thing is that there is a point where he goes to knock at the door of a convent. And of course, Nicola was too busy singing. I was too busy playing. So we had a special participation as a knocking agent of Henry Little. So there is also his participation in this record.
Yes, they always say there are no small parts in opera. So there
Great.
you can judge what you will when you listen to the song.
Let's have a brief interlude here and listen to one of these songs that we've been talking about. This is Non sdegna vezzosa Irene, one of the simpler ones.
L'une figlio del pudore, a beltà dell'altro caro, e dolezzano del paro, e dal regno in ogni cor. L'un tu vinci nel candore del tuo seno e del tuo volto, ogni pregio all'altro è tolto dal tuo labbro incantator, dal tuo labbro incantator, dal tuo labbro incantator.
Sei un dio, Nicola, sei un dio.
Adesso non,
But
non esagerare che poi ci credo.
I have to say this: this particular strophe, that is the second or the third one, was with the variation that I wrote. So you just heard me, not
Sì,
Donizetti.
Sì,
So
sì.
you need to buy the recording to listen to the real Donizetti.
Tutte le variazioni sono del maestro. Sì,
Sì, bravo maestro.
grande.
I wonder, just to show some of the variety, it might be interesting to listen to a little bit of the song with harp that that came about. Non ve nume, non ve fato. It's a song which says basically, there's no one can tell me how much I love you. My love is all consuming. But it's one of these songs, written with harp instead of piano. So I gave Carlo a few minutes of respite during the recording. So let's hear a little bit of that. There's sort of memories of Lucia di Lammermoor as well, with the harp.
Oppresso e prigioniero, a te penso, mio tesor. Mi farei qui ancor beato, se la me pensasse almeno, se chiudesse ancor nel seno qualche palpito d'amor, ma il destin che meco irato mi amareggia un tal pensiero, benché oppresso e prigioniero, penso sempre al mio tesor, penso sempre al mio tesor.
Fantastic.
Bella.
Fantastic. One of the things that really kind of just reminded me in that recording, you just saw the tiny clip there of Carlo just in the background, but also with great kind of, assertion and influence, just kind of conducting just very kind of mildly. And that just reminds me, Carlo, of
That I'm a conductor.
I was going to say the great qualities that you brought to these recordings, because yes, absolutely, you play the piano, which is, not what you're known for internationally, but it's where you started your career. But also in playing the piano, I think you really brought a conductor's perspective to working with Larry and Carlo, and I really think that's invaluable to the interpretation of these songs.
Thank you. This is very nice what you're saying, but I don't want to put myself down. But for me, the important thing and the thing that inspires me is to work with particular singers, because this project and generally all the project of Opera Rara, but particularly this project, where one cannot hide, behind the chorus, behind the big chord of the brass of the orchestra, is the voice. What I was saying, one of the things that really I am enjoying is to work with musicians, not just because of voice, but for excavating and trying to find the meaning of the songs. That, as Roger said at the beginning, many of them are very simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. Actually, very often the simple things are the most complicated, and so this is where I actually really enjoy and I'm enjoying this project. And we have done also other recordings that at the moment we are finalizing, and there are some others that are coming. So I think honestly that at the end of this project, Opera Rara will have done something really memorable in the archive of musicalist, musical archaeology.
Well, thank
If
you. And
I can I
yeah,
can I
sorry,
jump
Larry.
in
Yeah,
really
jump in.
quickly?
Yeah, do
No,
jump
no,
in.
very quickly before I have to run. Sadly, I'm in the middle, like I said, on somewhere on my way somewhere else, but something I have to do. But I have to say, being with Carlo, and of course, he won't give himself this praise that he deserves, but of course, being with someone who understands the style, who understands the language, who has the freedom, who really allows you to bring out your own instincts to create music. And all of these pieces are individual pieces that we ourselves, we get a chance to express, but we're led in the right way by someone who understands. And so our own creativity grows, our own ability to express becomes easier because we're having someone who's living in that style and just makes it a very real experience in the moment. So I felt as an artist, I grew. As a communicator, I grew because I felt like I was really in the path, in the thinking and the mindset of what Donizetti wanted. So that made the experience special for me. So thank you, Maestro.
Well, thank you too, Larry, and thanks for that fantastic feedback. When we were thinking about, the two artists to launch these recordings, remember these are the first two of 8 which are coming out tomorrow. We thought very carefully about working with artists who we knew could really communicate, as you say, Larry, through text, which is, after all, the key component of a song. And so, to work with you and Nicola, who, after all, have a long and illustrious history of working with Opera Rara, it's a fantastic renewal. And, I would say a huge thank you and congratulations to both you and Nicola for your courage, your commitment, your concentration in learning these songs. Carlo said, there are a lot of songs. There are a lot of songs. I mean, I think on there's roughly well over 20 on each of these two
28.
titles. So yeah, 28, as you remind me well. It takes a lot of work and commitment to take on this material alongside what I know for both you and Nicola are incredibly busy and demanding schedules. So we all really salute you at Opera Rara, both you and Nicola, for taking this on. So I also want
Thank
to
you.
recognize not
Thank
at
you.
all, it's a pleasure. I want to recognize the other artists, some of whom I mentioned, who are also involved in these recordings. And we have Jene Albrecht, who plays clarinet on the Larry Brownlee tenor songs. We also have Daniel DeFry playing the harp, who you just saw in that earlier clip, and he's joined by Abigail Fenner, who I think is with us tonight, who played the viola, and also Hetty Snell playing the cello, and all three of those sing on the Nicola Alaimo baritone songs. So here are the two releases. Look, I'm holding them up for you here. And they are both out tomorrow. You can order them on the Opera Rara website now, and I very much hope that you will. Perhaps you've done so already. And now's the point when, as I said earlier, you can you can ask us some questions. I think Larry's had to leave us, so we send him our thanks. He's got a tremendously busy schedule in Paris, so it's wonderful that he's made the time to be with us. But if you do have any questions for Roger or Carlo or Nicola or me or anyone else on the Opera Rara team, please do feel free to ask them now. You can unmute yourselves and raise your hand and I'll spot you. Any questions? Hannah, please.
Oh, first of all, thank you so much for a really inspiring online meeting. It's been so wonderful to hear about the project. I feel bad asking such a mundane question, but are the songs available as downloads at all, or is it just as CDs?
They are available as downloads, and in common with all our releases, everything is released simultaneously, both in physical CD format like this, but also they are downloadable, and they are also available on all the major digital streaming platforms. So Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Deezer, etc., etc. They're all there. And actually, we are looking, because the songs offer us arguably more of an opportunity for exposure on digital streaming than an opera does, which is a whole 3 hour thing. So we're looking at ways that we can really actively promote the songs on streaming as well. So look out for that. But thank you.
Brilliant. Thank
That's a
you.
really good question.
I can't wait to hear them all. Non vedo l'ora proprio.
Any other questions? I think I've got just a couple of questions which have come through from our Ask Opera Rara section of our website. Those of you who don't know Ask Opera Rara, it's a place where literally, as it does what it says on the tin, you can ask us anything you want, and I hope that you will. But one question asks us, what will our next new opera release will be, and that will be our recording of Simon Boccanegra, which we made in April last year, which will come out in March 2025. I think we've got another question here from Mark on Ask Opera Rara, who asks us, says, thank you for so many wonderful recordings. Donizetti's Fausta is a marvelous opera and deserves a quality recording. Is it included in your future plans? Roger, Carlo, do you want to make any comment on that?
There is already quite a good recording.
I'm not sure. I
know the opera, and I mean, I would not die in the fire, let's say, to save that manuscript. But there are a couple of good recordings already, although not studio recording. So of course we are not going to compete with other recordings that are already existing.
I think, I mean, I think if there's another Donizetti opera, well, apart from the ones that are actively under consideration, we're both really interested in Torquato Tasso. There's another one. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Nicola there. Una bella...
È un capolavoro.
Sì, sì.
Yeah, so it's a common question that I'm asked all the time, because Opera Rara has done so much to champion Donizetti's operas through recordings, and we've recorded, I think, 28 of them. And people say, well, haven't you run out? Haven't you kind of reached a dead end? And the answer to that, I think, is absolutely not. You know, Roger just mentioned one title. There are other Donizettis that we're also looking at. And it's also important to remember the contemporaries of Donizetti too. The Mercadante opera that we did, Il Proscrito, which was discovered by Carlo during lockdown and lovingly restored by initially him in sending us piano arrangements of the music, and then by Roger and Ian Schofield, has been a real revelation. I think it's the journey from complete obscurity to the recording, which has been very well received widely. So, you know, alongside Donizetti, there are a number of works by his contemporaries that we're also looking at. But for those of you who do have ideas about repertoire, there is no such thing as a silly question or a question that's somehow irrelevant. So please do keep sending them in, and please do use that Ask Opera Rara resource to do exactly that. I would encourage those of you who are able to join us on our YouTube channel for the world premiere of these recordings. In fact, kicking off in 8 minutes time exactly at 7 p.m, we have the first volume, which is the tenor songs with Larry Brownlee, and they're followed at 8:30 p.m. These are all London timings, by the way, with volume 2 with Nicola Alaimo. And I think the link is coming up in the chat, so I better hurry up so that you've got time to pour yourself a large drink before you log on to the YouTube channel. But very, very quickly, quickly, just to wrap up, the Donizetti Song Project continues. The Italian soprano Rosa Faiola, working again with Carlo Rizzi on the piano, comes to London towards the end of this month to record her album of soprano songs. And that will be followed by a performance at the Wigmore Hall on Saturday, the 2nd of November at 1 p.m. Parallel with that, we are also actually this weekend making a recording of mezzo-soprano songs with Marie-Nicole Lemieux. And she and Michael Spires are coming to London for what I think will be a very special performance next spring at the Cadogan Hall on Monday, the 10th of March at 7 p.m. And their recordings, respectively, by Michael Spires and Marie-Nicole Lemieux, which constitute volumes 3 and 4 of the Donizetti song releases. Our plan is to release those just a few weeks before. And if you're in London, you can hear many of these songs performed live by the group of emerging artists that we are working with in parallel with these recordings. It's always an important part of Opera Rara's work to work with young artists at the start of their careers. And we're featuring those in a series of salon concerts throughout the season. And you can find more information on this and everything else on the Opera Rara website, which is opera-rara.com. Please do, if you want to know even more, tune in to our Opera Insider series in our YouTube channel, in a new live stream podcast series with musicologists Flora Wilson and Roger Parker. The title of those is called A Life in Song. They're very much based around the Donizetti Song Project. And the first episode will be on the 17th of October at 6 o'clock London time. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our mailing list to hear more about all these and many other activities which are going on. It just leaves me to express thanks. The thanks are, of course, incredibly important because many of you will have heard me say many, many times that Opera Rara is a charity. We don't receive any public funding, and we absolutely rely on the generosity and loyalty of our many supporters in order to achieve these very ambitious projects. So I'd like to thank our guardians who absolutely make significant contributions to our work, without whom that work would not take place, but also specifically the members of the Donizetti Syndicate who have come together to support this project, and also the Colwinston Trust and Cocaine Grants for the Arts, particularly for supporting the Donizetti Song Project. I'd like to thank the Italian ambassador to the UK, Signor Inigo Lambertini, who is Opera Rara's Donizetti patron, and also last but by no means at all least, our thanks to our many, many patrons and friends whose contribution is immensely valuable to us. So at this point, thank you all for joining. You have just 4 minutes to log on to our YouTube channel, where I hope you'll really enjoy the launch of these songs. I find them utterly compelling and fascinating, and I hope that you will too. Huge thanks to Carlo, to Nicola, to Larry, to Roger, and all the Opera Rara team. Thank you for being with us this evening, and hope to see you again very soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Corri destra del cenere, corri, corri, la via divona, recami accanto all'angelo che la mia vita infiona.
Every piece you have to find something to really make it real and to be alive in that moment.
Il tuo nitrito, che il suo fedel tornò.
Più che non amo un angelo, t'amai nel mio delirio.
The Donizetti songs are really fantastic. I'm really happy to be here.
Vissi del tuo respiro.
Tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la.
calls for a lot of variety. It calls for a lot of concentration. And so you have to dip into your bag of all your tricks.
I worked with Nicola many times, and doing with him this Donizetti songs is great because he's not only a great singer but also a great musician. And musicianship is what you need for this kind of repertoire.
Del suo bello lontano,
tormento da morir, e tormento da morir. Vieni, Lisa, vieni, vieni.